To this Enterprise Uganda forums. Again, we're here to share with you practical experiences on how you can make it in business. We understand that there are a number of issues, a number of challenges that you're contending with as a business person. But we'd like to tell you that despite those challenges, you can still sail through those and make it in business. So today, and the reason why we're here is actually to reaffirm that statement I've just said by bringing you the stories of people that have lived it and are still living it, and of course a business coach, you know, to help us distill some of these experiences for your take and benefit as a business person, a businessman or woman. Now with me in the studio again is our business coach, Charles Ocici. Charles, as usual, you're welcome.
And good afternoon again, viewers.
Very good. And today we have a special guest all the way from Tungamo, Ruhama, Mr. Esau Mushabe. Esau, you're most welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Very good. Now, Mr. Mushabe has a person who's going to help him, you know, you know, share and break a few things with us, and that's Mr. Mujuni. So Mujuni, I would like you to introduce yourself to the audience.
Thank you, moderator. My name is Mujuni Isaiah Milembe, the chairperson of Board of Trustees, Elo Gift Enterprises, being managed by Mr. Mushabe Esau, seated here. Thank you, viewers. Good afternoon.
Now, viewers, Esau has a very interesting story, very powerful story. Like I said, all the way from Tungamo, and I will spare that, you know, for the time being, Charles.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure there's a lot you're going to pick from this gentleman's experience, his journey in business, because it's been, it's quite an experience, I have to say that. And as usual, we'd like you to bring that notebook and a ball pen. Is it still called a ball pen nowadays?
It must be still a ball pen. The fountain pen disappeared.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Put it close, because there could be a couple of notes that you will actually be able to get out of this. Now, Charles, let's go into it. There could be a couple of our viewers who probably missed last week. Let's look at what we picked from that young man's story. Very powerful story indeed.
Very powerful indeed, and I want to say that the episode we had last week was about a young man who stopped in senior 4, not because he didn't want to go to school. He's a young man where he found himself going into employment too early, leaving home too early, not because he was living for luxury. It was out of hardship. And this young man started a story, which his story paints a very promising picture for this country. But as usual, viewers, I'll give you the headline aspects of that story. The first headline is that entrepreneurship with the right mindset delivers big results, and big results very fast. Hatwib's story is a story of a person who came to Enterprise Uganda to get the right mindset, and within 18 months, he moved from a business that had sales of 300,000 per month to 5 million per month. The power of the right business mindset. 2, most entrepreneurs that appear steady have met setbacks, even failures at the beginning of those stories. But those stories have never been fully understood by many people who are seeing the current sort of success. The same can be said about Atwib. His very first attempt to go into business, he failed completely and lost all the money. Number 2, organic growth, that is growing from inside, requires the principle of saving as well as investing. When done right and done consistently, it opens doors to other resources. And that's the story of Hatwib. I want to pick a few things which clearly emphasize those headline aspects that I've just summarized about Hatwib. The first lesson was that involving children in domestic and community chores prepares them for the world of work. Hatwib fetched water and disposed garbage for the neighborhood right from primary through his secondary. Finishes school, in the evening he's carrying water and gets little money. Finishes school on Saturday, he's collecting garbage and he's paid some little money. But he did it without saying, I'm suffering. Lesson number 2. Having a vocational skill as early as possible is good for a young person or for a youth. In the case of Atwib, he learned hairdressing and beauty skills that got him into employment when dad could not afford his further education. In other words, daddy's failure to push you through the conventional education system does not necessarily mean that you are finished.
Yeah.
The world is looking for somebody giving solutions somewhere. That's where Atwib started from. Learning how to cut hair, learning how to clean the nails, and that's how he got his first employment.
And from that, Charles, from his experience, he demystified the whole concept of education. What's an education?
Very, very true.
Yeah.
And even this aspect of looking at a particular job or say attending an interview and then being given a formal letter, he said, please, may I start giving people solutions? Whether you have interviewed me in a certain formal way or you didn't, he started immediately. And even the place where he worked did not necessarily even have a signpost. Demystification of some of the things that make us not to start getting into employment.
That's right.
Thirdly, inspiration from the story of Atwib. Inspiration is good, but it's not sufficient to create a sustainable business. When Atwib saw a customer who used to come to the saloon carrying a lot of money and was told that man, I make it from the open market, he said, I want to go there.
Yes.
I want to go there.
Yes. And it happens a lot among our people.
Exactly.
Yes.
You see the outside and you want to start achieving that outside without knowing the story behind what you are seeing from outside.
Yeah.
So what happened then for Atwib? He was inspired by that person who came for hair services.
Yes.
To go ahead and start a market vending business. And for that he got actually 300,000 donation from the grandmother. But within 3 months the business had collapsed, and yet he had paid for the space where it was to operate much longer than the 3 months. In other words, the venue was available, he had paid for it, but he couldn't continue in business. Inspiration is great, but pick the skills that inform the story of inspiration that you are admiring. Lesson number 4. In business, be a quick learner and ready to go back to the foundational basics. How does this relate to the story of Atwib? Atwib became a loader for customers after his first attempt to do business failed. He said, it's okay, I tried. I saw the man was carrying a lot of money. I'm not like him, I've failed. But then he said, what else can I do with my skills, with my energy? He started carrying food that were paid for by people who were buying items from the market. And in so doing, his hard work got him attractive to another lady within the market who gave him a job. Now when he got that job, Atwib began now to learn the basics of market vending from that lady. He was trusted. He became a leader of the business. Late in the middle of the night, he would be given money to go and buy items from Nakasero when lorries are being offloaded. And as he kept on learning all those things, he was now getting grounded on things he had admired from somebody who was carrying a lot of money. Another lesson from Atwib was that in life, try not to burn your bridges, but instead cultivate trust with every partner. He did that at the place of work where he was in the saloon. He did that at the place of work with the other lady who gave him the job. He did that with his fellow colleagues with whom he was employed, knowing fully that those people are part of his growing positive network.
I think that was very powerful, especially for young men and women.
Yes.
Because we tend, or they tend to actually, when they get a new thing happening,
yes,
some of them will not even report to their bosses to say that I'm moving on.
Just disappears.
They just disappear.
You see?
And I think that taught a thing or two about the importance of networks.
Exactly.
One gentleman said your network is your net worth.
Exactly.
So I think it comes out quite strongly in Atwib's story there.
Very, very true. And it was actually through those networks, that's how he got schooled in how to use the power of WhatsApp. And today he's reaching his customers through technology and able to make home deliveries. The other lesson that I thought was again useful from the young man was that let competition be your barometer, your measure, so that you do not get too complacent. You do not take customers for granted. When you see competition from another negative angle, it can actually make you focus wrongly on the competitor in a way that can create jealousy instead of learning from them. According to a TV said, he treasures competition because it makes him think and see how to serve the customer better. Very useful for an African environment where jealousy and nugu, itima are so much. The other point that we saw from the young man was that young people look up to and listen to elders. Now, when they look up to and listen to elders, what must leaders do then? Leaders must therefore weigh their advice and their counsel as they give these people direction on where to go. In the case of Hatwib, he had a mayor of his own area of Nakawa, Balimweso, who told him that, please, I may not be able to give all of you money, but I'm going to take you to a training that will give you the necessary tools and skills to take off on his own. Today, he has never forgotten Mayor Balimweso, who gave him that direction. Never gave him a shilling, but told him, I'm giving you the tools and the skills. So this is really good for our leaders, especially at this point when we are doing our campaigns. Whatever we do, let's promise these fellows something that really builds them long term. And you will see what another leader did in the story of the person who have in the studio today. The other point that I want to pick up, and probably the second last point to close off, is teach your children discipline and honesty. This was a poor family. Meals were not enough. School fees was not enough. Accommodation was basic. But even with that kind of environment, instill them those key skills of discipline, hard work, honesty. The world will reward them. And then what did he learn from Enterprise Uganda? That he truly emphasized. He said, the brain is the first and the most important capital. If the brain loses direction and loses hope, you can do all you want to do to put things in the hands. You don't have an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Number two, he said, internal growth, which in conventional language is called organic growth, through saving and investment, is a very powerful aspect of becoming a truly growing entrepreneur. And you can't miss that in every great story of an entrepreneur. And the last one was avoid excuses of lack of capital, poor parents, poor education, the very things we all want to cite why our youth should not be enjoying good lives.
Yes.
When it comes from a young man like that, I just felt good.
Very good, Charles. Thank you very much. Viewers, I'm sure you've heard, and a very important lesson there, that also entrepreneurship really knows no age.
Exactly.
You can start business and be good at it at any age, especially to the youngsters listening to us. We know there are many that are stuck home at this point in time. This young man is just 23 years. Yeah. But you can see he has hustled, and hustled good, I should say. Because his income a month is 5 million shillings. 5 million. So that's good money to start with. Moving on to our topic today, viewers, again, I have to mention that we have Mr. Esau Mushabe, is all the way from Ntungamo. Very powerful story, and it tags into the topic that we have for the day, which is practical business tips on how to move from an owner of a duka, in Uganda it's called a duka, to an industrialist with many other family businesses. Now, this is a very, very important topic, and I pray that viewers, you follow this quite keenly, because many a time, you see a number of people who become good at duka selling. Yes. Whether, they graduate from retail to wholesale. Yes. But making the leap from there to start making what they sell becomes another story altogether. And that is what we are going to try and unpack today in Mr. Esau Mushabe's story, but then also looking at the power, the ability, of you yourself as a businessman to diversify into other business areas. So at this point, I'll come to you. Viewers, Mr. Mushabe has come with an interpreter, Mr. Mujuni, who is going to help us, break down a few of Mr. Mushabe's experiences. And at this point, I would like to ask who is Mr. Esau Mushabe, so that our viewers get a full picture who Mushabe is.
Thank you, moderator. Bwana Esau Mushabe bantu bakushaba kugira ngo ubase kugambira abakwisera batureye ba TV uryoha.
Nyewe Ndumushabe Esau wabingi bakweta Rumanyi kandi ndiyo mushija w'umufumbo nyine umucyara n'abana mukaga kandi ndiyo muntu washomere ku kiningo utarashomera kuba nkakoma mu primary ya katanu nukwendi intyo.
Thank you so much, viewers. This is a man called Mushabe Esau, who was brought up in a very humble family, which family could not manage to take him even to take him through the primary level. So he stopped at P5, as he has stated. He's a married man. He has a wife and children, and he hails from Rohama, in Ntungamo district.
Very good, thanks. So when did you start business? When did you get the idea of going into business?
Mushabe Esau ukateka yari kugira ngo ukore business.
Umwaka urukumo rwenda cyenda nena nubwo nateka kora business konka kashanga ntine sente. Umutima ukangera ngo wakuza kupaka soka za Buganda Kampala ukapaka sayi sente. Nashaba mukuru wanje twaza ankuto twabona ho ekiroro cy'kwijya Kampala twakitama hinyuma twijana twa mucucu twakire kuno ya Kampala tatandika kusindika ekigari yamiziga gura shiringi igana turugagura shiringi 5 konka urusento runabire mpaka sankani nkunda business ndiyaho nankozere 13 ndiyaho 10 mbike 12 nguma ninkora ntyo kusya aho nahikizo tusente tuke nkagaraka umucyaro umwaka n'ugumwe nkabona ka box nkagurura mutuntu nkatanga kutambatambuza umbantu ingera ninguza sigara ninguza kibiriti ntyo bwenu umwaka gw'2006 umwaka gwa 2016 nkasyaho tusente tuke mununga takusya mitwara abiri konka gatandika hakaduka umustage wito mukashushano Nyakabare muri bwongera gatandika nkashubura kaduka ko noho nihirire ndukwijaho kitwe.
Thank you, Mr. Mushabe. Some you can pick from there, then you will pick from there.
Thank you so much, moderator. Viewers, the man was trying to explain how he started his business and how he started to begin a business. First of all, in 1994, of course, after failing to get school fees, then he came across his brother, who was, of course, who had already dropped from school. Then they planned to come to Kampala to do some business. Which business? Definitely after reaching here, after reaching Kampala, they started pushing the wheelbarrow. Then getting some small income, but as a man who had a vision, he could not spend the whole of his money. He could eat some little and save much, so that he could begin some business to sustain him. So that is what he did. After a short time, after getting some money, he decided to go back to his home village. And his home village is in Wonjera, but still in Ntungamo district. So he started vending. He just got a box, he bought some few items. So he started vending them throughout just around the village, his home area. Then after getting some money still from vending those items, then he decided to begin a small shop in his home area. Then he started that small shop. That was in 1996.
I get
Not 2016, but 1996.
I get you.
Yeah, in 1996. Then after that, as somebody with a vision, he continued saving. He could spend little and save more. Then finally, after realizing some more money, then he decided to start a bigger shop.
Okay.
Yes.
So Esther, walk us from the bigger shop. What did you go into, and where did that end to where you are today?
Navuga ruyareketa duka mpango konka kakarya kaduka kake kake nakatika kitwe natandika gukora naguma kitwe ndukukorerayo.
Okay. Okay.
So what he did, the shop was not big, but at least was bigger than the previous one. And he continued just saving some money that could help him to go to where he is now.
I hear you.
Yeah.
Before we come to where whether Esau is now, Charles, I think this is the point when I bring you in.
Yeah.
You know, it's really a humble beginning, as you can see. And there are many people out there who will blame education, not going to school, not speaking English and the rest as a reason for their failure to make it in life.
Very true. Yeah, and it's a very useful observation because there are many of us who can relate with this kind of a background.
Yeah.
And that background has been used to seal our fate. We keep singing about it and people say, oh, so you didn't go beyond primary, it's okay for you to be poor, we shall look after you. Oh, so you didn't go beyond this kind of village education, you ought to be poor. But this fellow, the first thing you could see was that they never continued to blame daddy or indeed anybody in the neighborhood. They started to do something on their own, which is very, very key. No matter how tender the age, if you begin to know that even at a tender age, if you push the wheelbarrow and you delivered some solution to somebody who wanted items moved, you are going to be rewarded. But he also did something interesting. As he keeps doing that, he's saving some money. He's not saying, this is good money in Kampala, let me enjoy this Kampala city. He kept on saving, and then finally when the money was reasonable, said, wheelbarrow business was my bridging opportunity to go and start a vending business in the village, where I have accommodation, where I have a bit of knowledge of the area. And from there again, he continued with the habit of saving and reinvesting and started a small shop. And now we're talking of a big shop before he tells us now where he is as Esau.
Exactly. And I come back to you, Esau, because we want now to paint for us a picture. Who is Esau as a businessman? What have you put money into? How big is your business? Where have you invested money? And I'm going to ask my producer, as you explain for us that story, to really give us or give our viewers some of those pictures that show Esau's activities in business.
So Bwana Esau, kuwa rugire ahaduka egiye watandikira mu rukitwe waguma no saving no ihamwe sente zwabe no bikaho kandi no garura mu duka washanga no basa kutandika ebintu ebya bene birenga haduka ejo ibindi mbwenu ugisira duka ejo mbwenu twantu kushaba kugira ngo abakutureba ubase kubagambira ibintu ebyo ibi watandikireho nibiya
takagira mushomo akugira ngo kandi akabaze duka keta kabire mpango kwiyaho kintu cyo nabasize gukoramo omuduka ejo nkaguraho akaporoti nagaraka naguraho rutoke rwo kubasa kubandurebera abana rukahwera eduka ejo tukareka kushaka aho no nabire aho no nabenahika.
Yes, you can
now
maybe before you come in, viewers, if you see, those are some of the pictures that shows some of Mr. Esau's operations. Of course, he's into bakery business. We've seen some of the buildings he has. He's into bananas and the rest, but yes, go on.
Yeah, according Mr. Esau got some money from that shop which he started in Chitwe and bought a banana plantation purposely this time to sustain his family because he had not bought more land, he had no food, he was just still buying food as a new person in the place. So he first bought a banana plantation where they could get food from to sustain the family. And then plus a plot. He also bought a plot,
okay,
which he later developed.
I hear you.
But that one, according to what he told me, as the chairperson of the board of trustees, it's like he was inspired by the people of Enterprise Uganda. It's like they had a workshop in Ntungamo. Then from that workshop, that's why he got the knowledge of diversifying his what? His business.
I hear you.
I think now that he's here, he could tell us what he learned from the workshop.
And where he diversified.
Yeah, exactly.
Before Charles comes in.
Yeah, because we need to know all the different types of businesses now, where he is on each one of them, so that people have a good, complete picture.
So when Tugambra, if we are shomire, Enterprise Uganda, na hiwa bishomire, ibi wihireyo ukabiteka utumu nkora.
Kunahereze kura ngo mama Janet mukuru w'ihanga ngo ari n'umushomo umurintungamo standard nahura nashemberwa konka bayizeni nkabanye nakapiki ntine ntambara yona haza bukaburyo bwire bwenjura turi kuteganisa hati ngira ntokwe ninza kuzayonda kandi shi nyowe kanta kumanya rujungu kuba rabishomese ninza kubihurranda konko kugira ngo kandi nkundo kushoma family ti yabona sente zo kunshomesa najyante nanye mbwene okuka kubeni ko kushoma kwanje ndende kiraho
Okay.
kuna tekatekerecho ondijo yija yanje atazama ko kushoma tubakwana certificate nanyu umuntu wa primary nagira certificate echo nacyo cya encouraging kuzayo nazayo namwe kintu cyane kuza kushoma kose ya kadati nanyi kugira ngo utinde umuntu atashomire bayizaho hati ndyo umuntu ashomira kuba nyine certificate biro umuntu kandi urujungu nanyi hati rugamba uko abana barumanya uko ati nyine umwana atashomire ngwino hati nanyi ni nyibara kumushoni nawo kunashyireyo twatandikira umushomo twagushangamu abashije banashangiye bagamba urujungu konka twine mwa abavunuzi umushomo gwo nagushangamu umwami Ocici hamwe na Charles ubwogi na Judith abandi tinda betegiriza kuba nkaba ndyo munyacyaro ndukweza kuki ndukwetina konka nahurikiriza baza mubashomesha umushomo bagira ngo ushemerire kushara kagoyi oshemere kushara akagoyi no kasharota kwaje kwetegereza in actual sense mind zanyoka no kucwa kagoyi ko bworo no kacota noza kupakasa kashinyo no chipakasa watiyoka wagiye kupakaza ko yo no pakasa hari ushimye kwinduraho kandi ndekiraho okuvunura banza vunuri.
All right, thank you so much viewers. Mr. Esa Mushabe, after attending a workshop which was organized, it was being conducted by Enterprise Uganda but funded by Mama Janet Museveni, the first lady, and it was held at Standard College in Ntungamo. And this Esau, after hearing the announcement, he could not believe himself, because he asked himself how he was going to attend a workshop which was being conducted in English. So he was puzzled a bit, but later on somebody convinced him that after the workshop you're going to be awarded certificates. That one motivated him so much because he was very much pleased to find a P5 graduate also getting a certificate. That one motivated him, and he had to ride his motorcycle and definitely attended the workshop. And in the workshop, in attendance, the facilitators were Mr. Charles Ocici, Mr. Charles Woji, and Judith, all from Enterprise Uganda. So he learned a lot of things, but among others, they taught him how that you should cut the rope. So in his own understanding, how he interpreted cutting the rope, then he interpreted it as breaking poverty. So he decided to go into business, and he believed in himself that he could do it according to the knowledge he had acquired from the workshop.
Very good.
Thank you.
Now, Esau, where are you in terms of business, in terms of the lines of businesses where you've invested, the number of staff that you employ, and the size of your operation before Charles comes in?
Bwana Esau, ukashoma wargayo inamagezi kandi wagira ngo nonda kuza kusharaka guha kubworo kubworo wakashara mwene ku wakashazire ibintu bi watandikireho byese zo watandikire zanankahi icya kabiri staff oyinera kwingana ki
ntakorekereho nakoze na staff ku ahwaho nantakahirize kushobora aho abinabirenyegireyo tindegire kugira ngo tusharaka goyi rero ko bworo kunka nkashinkegayo okugira ngo oshemerire kutandika okagumizamo tagarra nyuma okaguma nogumizamo zen ntagarika nashoma ngo oshemere kuba enkoko ngo toshemere kuba enkoko njungu oshemere kuba enkoko nyankore ekitecho nakyebuza kuna kire natunga enkoko yenjungu neye nyankore yenjungu kuna gitira hero yaguma negari ko mwibaraze netaho umunju yetundane konke yenyankore ekaza hero yajyane turutora hati namanya ngo nanyishimiye kushohora nkaza kutorutora nkareka kuza kuyiba hati nicyo cyangwa kinabanyenda kutangazaho koreka ibintu ebinayegireyo omuntu yo wenka kwetandikira business iwo nko muntu iwe wenka kwetekateka kuti nshimiye kutandika business konko tatekateka oti omuntu naza kuntandikira business.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Bwana Esau. Viewers, Mr. Esau was trying to explain that still in the same workshop that was held at Standard College, being facilitated by our First Lady, Honorable Janet Kataha Museveni, and being facilitated by Enterprise Uganda, he learned more things. One, in the attempt to cut the rope of poverty, he learned that he should start business. Of course he had started, but he had to diversify, bring more business, more projects on board. And that is what he did. Then he also learned that he should not behave like the exotic chicken. Instead, he should behave as a local chicken. And in his interpretation, he did it practically. He had a local chicken and the exotic one. And he opened the door. When he opened the door, immediately the local chicken went to look for food. But the exotic one just moved around and came back to demand for food. So that one motivated him that he should use his own knowledge. He should use his own knowledge to make him what he wants to be, what he would want to be in the future. Right. And that is what he did. And we sat down because he called me and gave me, we went through his plans and we composed a business philosophy. And it goes, mountains of success are very steep, but must be climbed. And the only way to begin is to begin. That's how we started.
Very good.
Very good.
That is our business philosophy.
Very good.
kutwamarira umushomo kutwamarira umushomo naijana eduka nagirekaho mukazi nyo natandikaho okwosya enyama kunatandikira okwosya enyama akwena munanye business ndeke ereke kugumawe ekwatire kabanke yenkoko enjungu hati itari kugendeka basita ate natandikaho okwosya enyama natandikaho za chapatisi natandika kwinkuriza ingenti omubwiro obwe nubwe nabonireho umuntu ori kuguza bakery hati nkataho mu bakery.
So according to what he is trying to explain, the other shop which he had started in Chitwe, now he left that one in the hands of Madame to run it. Then he also started another business of roasting meat and frying chapati just to add on the income. Then in the process, after securing some funds in the neighborhood, somebody was selling a bakery, so he picked interest and bought it. That is how he started that bakery which he is running now.
Very good. Viewers, you've seen the pictures of the bakery on screen. Again, they are back there, they are running. And that's the bakery of Esau in Intongamo. We've heard his story. And Charles, we feel there's this sort of pity thing that we always get, you know, especially if you've not attained certain things in life, or your parents didn't do for you certain things in life. But I see a very interesting story here where someone is able to put all his energy into something to turn around his fortunes.
Very true.
But let's get back to Esau here to give us, you know, the
exact picture on every enterprise now. Where is
that he has?
Where he is at the moment. Viewers, as he comes in, you can be part of the discussion. We have our WhatsApp number on the screen. You can send your question or comment. I would like to forward them to our business person here, practical operator, and the coach is here to answer us. Yes.
So Bwana Esau hati huwahereze kutandika bakery waweza kujugura rero hari ibindi biwatandikire mwe twantu kushaba kugira ngo abakutureba ubase kubagambira ibintu by'ibindi biwatandikire okugita bakery byona ibyo yine hati
binatandikire ninge
ibyo yine bwana business zawe zona ya hayo bakery na numuduka akwari byona zikazo projects zawe
hakuna hereze kuzo bakery nabwo nkantine sente zukumara natanga kwayaringa hemutuka konkanija na n'ubugari no pichako atine kinabye nyine konko butwaro bwa hati nkaguraho ngabanza nagura hemutuka zo kutambuza abizire yote tinstire bishano konka zire zikazgira imfurudi bakashanga horore abene pachera hebintu naguraho pichi nayombekaho ejo bakery nkagigura eruhe bitapi bibiri aha mutu bitapi n'ipira ebivera higuru ate nagitekamo batega kuhingurigana mukamagana biri nagitaho amatafari icyo nayombeke cyo kucyahwire kunaize kombeka bakery naguraho naguraho protisi ayife ya bakery nagura porotisi 3 zeroho nazo mutawuni nayombekamu ikizimbe ha stage echo nikuna chereze nagaraka nayombeka ibindi bizimbe 3 nagiye nabitekaho ariho nayombeka nezi naganda maju mutawuni omwe hati kunaga hereze nayebuza hachi ibyo kanabimara nije nagakarambike kinzi kizimbe kiringwa mununga kirhwaho na hwaho umutawuni na chwate nicundumu ati na nyine wezini za politisi nagura hintuke ibibira nagura ibibira yo guma ntutemamu ntuhembesa tuteka ejo ebintu ya bekeri ato mu bekeri umwe naye nashanga turi kwetaga obuhunga ntubukozesa abakozi kandi abantu bitaga ebyoma byo kubasera ubuhunga na n'ubucori obwire bwa Christmas kananye ndukubasa kusa nkatambuzo mu bantu kandi ndabantu bamashaka bakoreta ubuhunga bukwera mutabini yituburuga nkakundu Kampala kandi ndanye ko natangire kusa naratanga kubuguza natanga kwiyongera nayiyongera nayikambara nayo nashanga bakubugura kandi ubugurwa kuno guto mucyara nahora nashemererwa mununga tanakore icyo cyonka icyo cyoma nije nagaraka umucomo umwe nanumbekeri nafuna nesente impango zikwasa kungurira hika hikatanu z'ikibanza nagenda nahingamu urutoke rukwata hika makumyabiri nkabaza nahingaho 15 akahingaho 15 ati ndiyo ninko ati mpingire gundo mwani ugurya hasi uguriyo nugwimuka kandi urutoke orwe ninduteka kuba buri 15 tubiteka 15 ahubwo umwe tutemera kutema muri ore ibiri ebindi 15 kutema muri ore ibiri konka twakikozere nataho nasarebedi nayebuza mbire ningura omwani akajumani bakatambika bati ahasi ko mwani kamera ngusiringira ukuni ate kubatambika hasi rero nyona ketambikiraho anabaza nabwetambikiraho narya ratobwa ate nasya miti omutwaro iyo mwani iyindi ire mfiteka ngo ahamuherwe myaka 5 nimbasa kuja kwa nishobora mamu kake miliyoni nkashatu rero hamuherwe myaka eyinda kumanya 10 plus benyiteka buri mwaka bari mfuna miliyoni 10 plus zikurwa mu mwani kandi umwani gwo tugukuturusya munonga ngo rutoki gwo wahiza gwara no gweza no mwaka no basakora mu murundo gumwe wegendere kurekana kubanga wendo kugenda no gupikinga mu no bucyo kujyana no gusharira no gwitera no gufuhira mbe ntati nashaka ko kimpingiso mwani ndebire ngize ntashikunde nakuzire ntakibasa kururaninga business izezi nazire kurire abana ati nyoni nyiza kwegamira anguhinga umwani waba no kuro myaka 10 niza kuba ni myaka 10 nimbani zo myaka 5 mwe no nimbani ndukuba musha mukuru mwe nishemiye kuba ine kiri kwija ku nkoro musha mukuru ikindi abe nimbanye ya de rents tokamanye.
Thank you, Esau. Sorry, I'm afraid viewers, we're going to take a very short commercial break. When we come back, Mr. Mujuni is going to summarize for us what Esau has just talked to that point. And then we'll be distilling some lessons and takeaways from Charles. Now, as we break off or take a break, very powerful story of a gentleman, Esau here. He stopped in P5. Now today he's running a portfolio that runs in hundreds, if not billions of shillings, all the way from Tungamo. He was a wheelbarrow push at a certain point, as we've already learned. So it's a story of, what is that word? Breaking the yoke. Yes. But we'll get back to that. I think Charles will break that down a little better for us after this very short commercial break. Hello viewers, welcome back again to a very, very powerful story, experience in business of Esau Mushabe, all the way from Tungamo. a man who dropped out of school in P5, but has today managed to build a business empire at that level, running in billions of shillings at his age, and one would add his level of education. Esau was breaking for us something before we went for the break. Mr. Mujuni, I'll kindly request you to just summarize what he talked about briefly before he comes to complete that picture for us.
Okay, thank you so much, Bwana Moderator. Bwana Esau was trying to tell us that after buying the bakery, as somebody who had started just from a humble business, he didn't have enough money to run to buy the equipment. So what he did, he bought the bakery and the employees who were working in that business. He bought them with the business. So the business, there was continuity. There was continuity because they did not stop. They continued working as usual, only that there was change of the managing director. So what he did, with his little money, he could hire some vehicles and motorcycles. But later on, as the business grew, he had to buy his own vehicles. He bought vehicles and plus other more motorcycles, which normally go to the hard to reach areas where the vehicles cannot go. And he has told us, this man, his bakery now, the products from his bakery are supplied to over 10 districts, including Ntungamo, including Rwampara, including Bushenyi, Shema, Mitoma, Kanungu, this is Sinjiro, and the neighboring districts. So all those districts have tested his products.
I hear you.
So that means his product, his bakery now is not a small, is no longer a small one, but it is a real bakery. It is at a very high level. Then too, he has said, despite the fact that he stopped at P5, his manager now is a degree holder. He's a degree holder. He's a manager, the one managing the bakery now. In fact, he has a degree and a diploma in business administration. Then too, after realizing some profits from the bakery, he was able to buy 3 plots of land. They are neighboring the bakery. He built a number of structures, very good houses in the town there, the commercial buildings. He built a number. He bought plots and built a number of them. He did not stop there. He also bought a forest where they normally get firewood to use in the bakery. And in addition to that, after now when the bakery was a bit stable, then using the knowledge that he had acquired from Enterprise Uganda, which was conducted at Standard College, organized by the First Lady. In fact, we thank her so much because he did a commendable job. You see, some people, they don't know that they are helpful to some other people. They just disseminate knowledge and whatever. But later on, people, they just come to testify. Now, he also decided to build a milling machine, a maize milling machine, because he could be challenged by going to look for this maize flour to use in the bakery. Then he said, now, what if I construct mine, then I get some maize flour and use it in the bakery, then I also sell the surplus. Can't it be also a source of income? He did it, and according to how he has stated, his portion is also being supplied to those districts I have mentioned. They are all using his portion from his 3 milling machines. He has constructed 3. Then after that, he did not stop there because he still had the knowledge which he had acquired from the other workshop. He decided to buy 50 acres of land. 50 acres of land. And part of that land, 30 acres, he started with 15, he planted a banana plantation, then another 15 to make 30. So 30 acres of land. Out of the 50 acres, he planted there banana plantation. And after 2 weeks, this man Esau, who stopped at P5, is able to supply 2 lorries loaded with bananas from his own plantation of 30 acres. That means a month, those are 4 lorries from his own banana plantation. Then, still he did not stop there. Said, let me continue. I must continue and diversify. That is what he had acquired from the what? From the workshop. Then he also started a nursery bed for coffee. Then out of that, he has been able to plant a shamba of coffee totaling to 10,000 seedlings. 10,000. That in Nyankole we call it omutwaro. So he has been able to do that. He has been able to plant 10,000 seedlings, where he's expecting to be. He expects to be getting at least 50 million from that plantation every season. 50 million from that plantation, from that coffee plantation. Yeah. Then from there, he decided also to put up fish ponds. He has fish ponds, so he also rears fish because he wants to get fish to feed his family, and then the surplus for selling, because this man is business oriented.
I hear you.
Yeah, thank you
very much. Charles, this is the point where I bring you in. Before I'll come back to Esau to really give me the principle upon which he has anchored his aspiration as a businessman. Correct. Because being able to do those different things and doing them successfully like he's doing now is no small feat.
Very true.
But Charles,
let me say this, that all the resources that Esau has used have always been there. And human beings have been surrounding those resources. What was missing now was a business mindset. And in the training that he came for, there are 3 things that we normally address, and they're all related to business mindset. The first one is to remove all things that stop you from getting started. And in Runyankole, he remembers, there was a slogan that we were sharing during the training. He said, Shara Omuguha. Shara Omuguha. Cut the rope. And then we illustrated that rope as a range of excuses that stop you from getting started. I'm not educated. Then we give them example of many people who are not educated. Oh, you know, my parents were poor. Then we tell them many people who are rich now, their parents were not necessarily rich. Then they tell you, oh, you know, up country. We give them examples. So Shara Omuguha is the starting point. When you do that, the resources that surround us are waiting for us. Then when we did that, we now told them, please, when you begin to succeed, what this man has done is to recognize that when you begin to succeed, your neighborhood is still full of poor people. If you don't have the principle of accomplishing and moving, which was put in that training, that maliriza gumizamu, you get so easily happy that, oh, now I'm better than my neighbors, I have a small shop, I'm okay. You begin to settle there. He is scaling and scaling. He started a milling plant basically for family consumption. Then later he said, no, it can supply my bakery. Then from the bakery, he says, with this money, can't I go into plantations? Opportunities in this country are many. We just need to release people's mindsets. That is what you can see from this story. This is the kind of a story you can take to the UN. You can take this man to New York. He speaks it in Runyankole, and that man will be translating, and people will say we have a formula for changing Africa. This is the story we're talking about here. I
hear you. Now, before I leave you, Charles, someone is actually asking here whether as Enterprise Uganda you have programs that look at people that are offering services, not necessarily the goods. As you answer that, one for Esau also, someone wants to know the principle that Esau is following to actually make money. I know he has talked about Shara Omugua, which is one of them, cut the rope.
Yeah.
But I think if he has any other principle, someone is interested to know how is he able to make it.
Yes.
Yes, Charles.
Just to tell people that at Enterprise Uganda, we pick any business idea. It can be service. And on this platform, we had not so long ago, a lady called Barbara Fono. She was into services, education, called Victoria Schools. We also had a gentleman here called Mr. Chimba. He was also into services, which was a technology a laboratory. We also had a lady here who was just exploiting her talent, Arapapa. All those are services. At Enterprise Uganda, we have principles that do not mind about the nature of your sector. But those principles, like the way he has been talking about Maliriza Gomizamu, complete, move, accomplish, move, accomplish, move. And we give you principles on how to do that practically. Those principles are extremely cross-cutting.
And someone is wondering, do you have ways or a program where you can help people identify businesses they can do?
Yes, and that's why when we say Shara Omugoha, one of the excuses people have is, I don't know which business I should do. On day 3, we take you through 7 sources of business opportunities. You will be spoiled on which one to choose. But again, we guide you and say, now that you have 3, 4 that you could start off with, this is what you can use as the criteria to select which one to move on with. Then we guide you properly. We are about to open our country. The pandemic is about to end. Ugandans take opportunity to come to an organization that has built all types of Ugandans across the country. The other time we had a young man with a degree in engineering. And you might think, oh, Enterprise Uganda, are you for engineering kind of students? Now you have somebody with primary 5. And look at the story.
Very good.
Very consistent.
Very good. Mr. Majon, I would like Mr. Isau to tell us from what we are getting from our viewers, because they want to know what principle is helping him to make the money and keep the money. But then as he's doing that, again, someone wants to know the strengths and weaknesses of his business operation.
What are those challenges of running that kind of a thing?
So bwana Isau, abantu bagezeho kutandika ibintu bibanjira ninga mwe barimo. Hati iwe nka Isau ekikubasise okugira ngo uyobase gukora ugume nobone sente nokore ibintu niki kandi cya kabiri nubuzuki ubwo kubugana umukore ibintu ebyo
okutandikana nyine kuhoraho n'abagamba kugira bitanyanguhire kuyaho abantu bakira kugira ubwoba asitandika nka business yale bakagenda mpora ati naka business kafa ati anagaruka kutandika kandi konka noreba nyowe ekinashomero kandi kingambira batahibanje no kugira ngo kora atandike utagarize nyuma kandi wagarize nyuma garuko tandike utakayeho amasiko kugira uti nyowe ubu natandike business eje kafa kandi tinkutandika ndijo kuri watandikire kutunda amahuri yafa utandike yo kutambuza engoyi kwera kureme utandike okuguza ubunyobwa bwakore mutarike kushubure mbuzi ahubwo buryo mwayi no mugishagwe ogwari kubasa kushuburamo kandi akabasa kufuniramo challenges obuzubu kubuganamo ntukira kubuganamo kushanga twine business tarukumara kandi obundi tushanga abantu abatari kwenda gukora batandika kututeganisa kutwibira nk'ebintu no kuteganisa kutugambura ahabwo kuba butari kwenda gukora kweza kumurema ninga yaba ari kukibasa ngo atari kufayo hati we asigara rugo rugambo no kwenda gukora ibitashyikire kandi izindi challenges zituru kubuganamo ubwiro bw'ingini capital no kubuganamo amabanja umuntu twari kuba yakwase ikintu cyawo umwe abora kushashura hati nacyo cyo turetera kwenda garura nyuma business nibyo bizuye turi kuvuganamo nk'ibyo.
Yes.
Hamwe na security mwene kushanga tuyine bintu konka security zitu zirinje zitakwemarira
Okay.
Thank you so much, moderator. Now, Bwana Esau, the principle that guides him, it is self-confidence. He confides within himself.
Yeah.
He knows that he can manage. So when he fails this one, that does not mean the end of life. He switches to another thing, because he has that self-motivation. So he's confident, and his confidence has helped him to achieve what he has achieved. And when he's doing his work, dear viewers, as you know, challenges are always there. Challenges are always there in all the businesses across the country. But among others, they are not different from what others are experiencing. He has a problem of lack of enough capital, because he would want maybe to modernize his equipment, to put new things, new products, because in a bakery the products are so many, but he's limited by capital. Capital, of course, you know, capital is a driving force in the factors of production.
That's right.
Then too, he has a problem of management. Management is also a problem, because you see, as you increase business, definitely people who are looking at your business negatively also increase. And then when you don't have good management, then some of the things end up going in the wrong place. So management is also a challenge, but as the members of board, we are trying our level best to handle.
I hear you.
Then there is also jealousy of some people. So you find somebody talking behind somebody's products, saying the campaigning. Then there is also competition, but we also have ways how we have always handled them. Then there is also a problem of people. At times we give them products on credit, and they don't pay in time. That also becomes a bottleneck when we are doing our things.
Very good.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I have a viewer who was asking how Esau manages to juggle all those businesses. Of course, I think Mr. Mujoni here and his colleagues are the answer. He has a board which helps him to make certain decisions. I think, Charles, here you've advised at the beginning of these shows the importance of a board.
It's very key, because when you are so focused in your own thing, there comes a time we have grown so big, but you still believe that you should remain a cashier. You should remain the one in charge of buying the items for the bakery. You should be the one taking the car to the garage. You need to keep your eye on all those things, but not necessarily to be the one doing them.
Yes.
That's where systems come in. That is where aspects of trying to detach yourself from the business begin to come in. You can't just go into that business and just say, this is my thing, give me this money. As you become informal, it is that informality that gives opportunity for people, including employees, to start stealing the money in the business.
Very good. I have a number of viewers here who are asking me a question of how to start a business. Many are telling me, I have 800,000 shillings, I have 2 million, what business can I start? I want you to wrap them up, Charles. For a person who is nursing ambitions of going into business, what advice would you give them?
To start a business, there are a couple of things that you need to get. First of all is the business idea. That business idea must have the following things for it to be viable. One, is it serving a market gap? Is there something like a service that somebody currently is doing but it's not covering properly? Two, to what extent is it a need that is emerging in the population and you need to begin to cover it? Maybe people have been saying, okay, there's somebody already offering a nursery school, but it's a bit far and we're becoming many here. Can't you start another one in the neighborhood? Three, you also need to be saying, if this business idea is to work, to what extent is the market potential evident? Because you could have a sale which is only for today. How about tomorrow? How about the other day? So there should be potential for it to grow and make something much bigger. But also, as you are looking at a business to start, it should be something not too complicated. A beginner should never be caught up in something too complicated. Do like he did. Vend the things, move the items from one place to another place. People know there's a shop the other side, but now you are delivering the pieces of soap next to somebody's own room.
Convenience.
Vending.
Yeah.
There's nothing complicated there.
I
So
hear.
start in something that has got clarity of knowledge so that you don't get confused. But then 3, learn from those who have already done that thing. Don't imagine that because you know how to move something from here up to there, you can then get started and start loading items in your bag and moving around with them. Those people have learned that maybe a certain piece of soap, it does not sell as much as another type. Learn from them. We call those ones learning the ropes, the trade skills, before you get excited into going into something else. But also as you do that, the moment you make the first sale, take heed and understand who bought my item and why. Because that person used to buy those items before you came in. What made them now to buy from you? Because that knowledge is what you need to continue to bring in more customers into your business. That in short takes me to what I call the 5 things you must embrace. Number 1, independence. Take a decision yourself. Number 2, self-belief. You are sufficient to get started the way you are. Number 3, persistence, because whichever sector you are going to enter, somebody is already there and you are going to have a competition. Number 4, remain a learner. Learn from that person who bought from you yesterday. Learn from the customer who has left you today. And then finally, you need a lot of courage, because it's going to be a lonely game. No startup is going to start up with adequate capital. And because you are starting with inadequate capital, the brain is likely to go back and start saying, maybe I'm doing the wrong thing. And the public is judging you. So you need all the things I've just mentioned. We call that one an enterprising mindset.
I hear you. Well, I like the fact that Esau, has managed to bring on board people with higher qualifications to manage his business.
Yes.
I think that's a plus.
It's something that you can say a person who has really mastered the power of running a successful business. It's no longer about you. It's about an enterprise that has got 2 things to sort out. Number 1, serve a customer to the best of its ability. That's the business. Number 2, that business must be able to compete. So for it to do these things, you need good human resources. And that's what he has recognized. 2 things. 1, he said, I need a board of trustees. This is another language of putting a board. People will tell me, Mr. Sau, please, can you begin to have a bit of a bigger picture and look at everything? Because you might over-concentrate on bananas because they are new. Or you might over-concentrate on the fish pond because you have just started them. Let's guide you to look at the entire bigger picture. But also you need to recognize that as you bring in on a board, you need good leadership, good management, and good employees.
Very good, Charles. Let me come to Esau again. I know time is really not our best ally at this moment. But I know you've involved family in the business. Tell us, the kind of involvement of the family, how they are involved in the business, how you're mentoring them and refining them to actually be good business people like you and probably take that business to the next level.
We need about our family kandi bari mu business mbwenu ubatwarizota kugira ngo bagira ukuba kubaza kutwara business on nisho. But I think as the chairman board of trustees, I have the best answer.
Please.
Thank you so much, moderator. Now what in business there is no relationship. In the business there is no relationship. After appointing the board of trustees, so what we did, what we do when there is a vacancy, we advertise. We put adverts on the radio, in the newspapers, and we also we tell people that we have got vacancies. So we tell people to apply, because many businesses have collapsed just because of involving so much the relatives, because finally they end up personalizing the business. They personalize it because he or she knows that in the case of a problem, he or she cannot be penalized, because he handles it's a business. It's a family business. So what we do, we advertise. If there is a family member who is competent, he or she also applies. Then we shortlist. After shortlisting, then we call them for the interview.
Thank you very much. I think that's well put. Charles,
Yes.
Very important point there.
Yeah.
Hiring family members on merit.
Very, very
But
true.
as you are at it, I would like to mention to some of our viewers, because I'm getting a number of them asking me, how do I start a beekeeping business and the like. What we do on this show is to share with you the principles based on the experiences of these business people.
Yeah.
And those principles, if you apply them in life, it doesn't matter which business,
Yeah.
they can still help you to ride
Yeah.
the storm of business.
Very true. Very, very, very true. The aspect of human resources has never been an easy thing, even for the biggest of the biggest companies in the world. So this aspect of making sure that the business gets the best resources it can afford is a very strong principle, and needs somebody who's grounded about why the business exists and what makes the business to continue to exist. And the first thing there is you must be having a business that delivers what the customers are willing to buy. Now you ask yourself, whoever I'm bringing in, are they going to make that to happen, or are they going to remove value from what you are giving to the customers?
Yeah.
If somebody is going to add value and is the most competitive, give him a job.
Yeah.
But if he doesn't, as they are saying, you rather keep those people out of the business. When you make profits, share those profits with those people. It's okay. You have looked after your relatives, but you have not come to disable the business by loading it with non-productive employees.
Very good. I would like Mr. Mushabe, I have about 5 minutes, to share with me his future plans. Where does he see himself in the next 10 years?
Bwana Isa wo myaka nkikumi iri kuborayo iri kwiyongera misho no yeranze iri kuborya arivuki ombe kwatena na business ezoyine no yanze kuborahi
revonshi kubani mbandi ya higuru aho kubani kunda abembire nyine emotoka 3 ninja kuba nyine emotoka mukaga naba mbiri ninteme bitoke erure ina ukwezi niza kuba nintema rure 8 umwani naba nishoroma ensha wigana shime kuba nishoroma ensha 2 plus n'ibindi hato umwe ndukuyira nkasima mama witu Geneti mu 7 kataha abo kuturetera umushomo umuntu ntunga mu yitu kananye ngagushoma kandi ukanye gukankore kindi abo ko mushomo go kugutarizire abashomesha bakatushomeza nkaba ntari kuyija kubasa kwinduraho kandi nkashaka goyi nkagumani ninkoreki nimpinduro ninkoreki kandi nabwo tinkabire abo kuba nintegatega kujya kombe kasero yamajuta kutandika kuko emotoka zanye na pizza zikatandika ko se bintebi mbwe nkiriyo ningumizamo naba nkiruhura hanga yatimpira mani konka ni nsima mnonga government yitu yebembirwe kaguta mu 7 na abizire kutwegesa nawo nimba sima kandi sima na munonga sima ogu chairman wanje wa board of trustees ahabwo kuba nyowe ebintu ebaho byayika tinji basa kugiye managingera konka kundu kwari kwijja abintero mu buryo narajye mu misho nshange ibintu birije mbwe ni musima munonga ekintu kinkupuraninga ogu munywani wanje akiteko mu nkora najya nti nyenda kutunga enkoko nunda kutunga enkoko zitanaziteye mwene zombe kiro tante nanta tirita ekyo kikora kitandika kukiteko mu nkora hacyandetero okumbasi kisa kandi omuntu kiri kubasa kukora notekwa kunywana abantu abari kubasa yokoro tarashomye no abantu abashomire kandi abi namazimo kandi tukubanywana habwo kwenda ngo obiyeho obakukorere no banywana bakunzire niwe obakorera hati kuretera business zawe okubonera kandi business wale betari kutambura nicoreka ngo iwe mukama business notakunda abakozi wakunda abakozi ntibakunda business nebonera hati nico kimbasi kise kandi campus ya hidare na ikawo konka nkiri kongera kusima mama witu Geneti mu 7 owankurire no kujyangwa andahare tinyina hundu kumwiha nkamureba nkamusima konka kwakora ho nare motoka yaraba natandebire nanye ninduga no muyanye nteka amazu njantu we bari mama Janet okwasa kureta umushomogo nanye nkashoma ati nkaba actuary now in my house I have 2 certificates.
Very interesting. You're about to say something.
Yeah, I wanted him to just give half a minute about, because when you reach this level of visibility,
yes,
every banker wants you. How is he handling that? Just very briefly. How are you managing too many banks that are loving you now?
Approaching you.
Yes.
Hati banks ni ndya akundu kubasa nayenda mu bank ahubwo ibintu bintu kwe byona tukabara kugira aho wenda aho waremerwa ukazumu banka ko nkato kuzumu ryeje ukazumu ryeje nogumu banka emwe ozamo rya makantu akora kubasa kandi ukashashuru mbwiri nambwe ni nyonka ati nyoka ni wakagambo rya ndiyo mu studio ndi Kampala esente zinyine n'ebintu binkorise mbikorise mikono yanjye namwe nukwako bayino orukumbanzo wunyagiri ati ndya mu studio atera amasimu banshanga nyowe tinyine owunyagire tinyine owunibire kandi ebintu byanje bya live nibirebeka mbwenu ni nyongero okuhiga abantu abakiri kutine mirimo abakirwanga imirimo batandike bakore kandi batakayenda ngo batandikira abihango noranye ko natandikira Kigali kandi nkatandikise mitware 3 nkagumana inkora.
Thank you, Esau. Half a minute to just summarize a few things and before we close.
So thank you so much, Bwana Moderator. So the question was about where the man sees himself in the next 10 years. According to his explanation, he sees himself at a higher level, and he has outlined some of his achievements, some of his future plans. He has stated that now he supplies only 4 lorries of matoke, but in the next 10 years he sees himself supplying 10 lorries. Then coffee, 200 bags from 100 bags. Then modernizing the equipment in all of the businesses, the bakery and the other one. Then lastly, he has advised the people, the viewers, that when you are making business, definitely you have to use a loan, but make sure you touch where you can reach.
Very good.
For riches.
Bite what you can't chew. Let me rephrase it. Well, viewers, that's all the time we had this afternoon for this interface. I'm sure you've picked quite some important lessons. Self-pity shouldn't be an excuse for not starting or doing something. It's a P5 dropout. Esau Mushabe from Tungamo, we thank you. Charles Ocici, as usual, we thank you so much.
Thank you.
And Mr. Mujuni, thank you so much.
Welcome.
I've been your host, Charles Boji. Until next time, have a good evening.